People will not adopt AI just because you want them to adopt AI. That's what we've seen, and I think that people, just like any product, they want to be trained and retrained, certifications, and also they are smart. They really want to see that it makes their life much better. And sometimes they are forced to use tools that actually makes their life worse. So we measured how are they reacting. We surveyed our support team to like on a weekly basis to understand what are they saying about the change. Is it really impacting them or it's annoying them? So I think it's like I said, it's like don't assume you build a tool, you give it and they'll use, or don't assume people will just start adopting AI while they are saying, wait, it's risking also me and my employment, right? So I think you work with them and you really listen to them.
Yeah. Well, it seemed to work. The thing that one of the other things that struck me is you guys really leaned in on this agentic AI, but you had a hard, as you mentioned earlier, you have a very hard, very fast failover to a very human response very quickly, right? So if the AI can't answer the question, doesn't isn't going to get it right, then it flips immediately. And you didn't just kind of leave it there and have now a human follow up. It was you're on a call, you're making personal calls, you go overboard to that 10%. And that's what really struck me because you've made it this more efficient process, which everybody's looking for, but you've also made it very more personal when it's needed.
It is very clear that when someone has an experience with AI that's not good, he is not at that point willing to do back and forth emails and tickets, right? This is like, you something bad happened to you, and then I'm gonna send you an email. Hey, how are you doing? How can I help you? No, just like, hey, by the way, Russ, how are you? Are you okay? I really apologize. But we're gonna learn from it. But put that aside, what I can help you with. You know, that thing really allowed people to be okay when AI wasn't perfect.
Right. Yeah. Now, you also did a couple things that are a little more human, like putting agent photos and names and emails and surveys and stuff. And so I love this approach. Having been in sales and marketing and kind of product management for a long time, I always had to deal with people, and I always knew that if I took them to dinner or we actually met face to face, we had a very different relationship than, just over, email or, over the phone. As soon as you see somebody's face and get to know them a little bit, it really has an impact. What did having, the agents' photos and names and the surveys and emails, what impact did that have on the organization?
Um, it had a great impact. I think, like I said, it's this thing where there's a lot of stuff that are unhuman. I keep repeating, it's unhuman to go and search 5,000 tickets and finding the right, like, it's just unhuman and it takes a lot of time and no one is happy from it. It doesn't make you feel good, right? But in the other side, with all the advancement of AI, I think we are nothing without a human connection as a human being. We're actually like, if you stay at home and you don't meet anyone, mentally, you're not going to be okay. So we are nothing without that human connection. And so we make an effort for that. You said the pictures, like we make the effort to make it when it's a human to make it as human as possible for you to connect. Yeah, but these
Yeah.
some of these stuff are it's not a surprise that they work well, like putting a picture of a real person.
Yeah. How did it change the people inside of the organization? This is a big change for them culturally. What does SysAid look like since this transformation?
Like anything in life, I would say, on one side we are a very fast-paced organization, sometimes too much. It's extreme, this new way to operate in the org. We had a guy we hired, and after 2 months, he said, I decided to leave. And I said, why? And he said, "Ah, this is too much for me. It's like there's so many things that are happening here at the same time. I'm overwhelmed. So there are also some side effects to it. But I think what the biggest thing I tell to employees is in a year, if you're not an if you do not have experience in an agentic or you're going to be very hard for you to find a job, right? Just like I anticipated 3 years ago when I started as a CEO of SysAid, and 2 days after I said, everybody stops everything. We're going all in on AI, and the AI wasn't there. And writing code with AI was like bad. The code was bad, but I knew there was 20,000 developers that are working on it, and every week it will be better. And it didn't take a year; it actually took 2 years, but it eventually came in. So my point is, I say to people, it's like help it to make it better, but there's you cannot live in today where you do not know how to activate AI as part of your power. It doesn't it not work anymore.
No, it's like putting on your suit, you know, it is your superpower, it's your helper,
Yep.
it's
Yep.
it's everything.